listeners. Welcome to the Music Festivals podcast. This is the show that helps you get to know music festivals, festival venues, and campgrounds before you go. I'm your host, Neighbor Nate, and I'm glad you're in the neighborhood. Welcome back, neighbors, to episode number 40 of the Music Festivals podcast. This is the show that helps you get to know music festivals, festival venues, and campgrounds before you go. And as always, I'm your host, Neighbor Nate. And today's episode is something I'm very excited about because it is a festival preview of the Pickin on Picknick. This festival was founded in 2015 by a group of friends, and it's now celebrating its 10th year in existence. It's held annually at the Lost Hill Lake in St. Clair, Missouri, and it actually operates as a 501c3 nonprofit to raise awareness and dollars to support mental health and addiction programs through what is called the Sweet Relief Fund. So I am delighted to have as my guest the curator and event producer, Ryan Kemp, join the show. Welcome, Ryan.
How's it going, Nate?
Good, man. I'm so glad that we could jump on and do this. You and I have talked a little bit previously about Pickin on Picknick. So I want to start with just a little bit of curiosity around how you got started as a promoter and really what's the origin of your love for bluegrass music?
Sure. Yeah, I've been a lifelong musician. I think it was between sixth grade and seventh grade. A kid at summer camp had a guitar there, and I begged my parents for the next year to get me one, and one never came in that next year. But the following year, I did get an electric guitar. Nice. And kind of traveled down that road. Was doing a bunch of guitar lessons, and just getting into music at the time. Like the guitar tabs and magazines were easily accessible back then, so that was kind of like where I was learning a lot of music. Got into like jazz band in high school, trying to play the guitar. Moved to the bass. Somewhere in there found Bela Fleck on the banjo. Thought nice. I needed banjo as well. I think I had that for just a couple years before I realized, maybe try to take one thing at a time as far as music instruments go. Banjo was a little out of my reach at that time.
It is really interesting how that progression unfolds in bluegrass, where you start picking up one thing. I mean, if you look behind me, I've got a guitar on the wall, a mandolin over there. Yeah. I was a drummer, so I play drums, but everybody I talk to that's into bluegrass, they all play with all the different instruments at some point, right?
Yeah, music is pretty universal once you start to get a grasp on what's going on. It translates to multiple instruments. I've been a bass player, was kind of where I landed at for 20 plus years. Playing the upright bass in a couple different bands, such as the Squashers out of Northwest Arkansas. I'm not sure if you remember any of those guys, but a couple of those guys are in Front Porch now, and they're really blowing up around Northwest Arkansas.
That's really cool.
So yeah, I guess when I started traveling with them, we were hitting the Bluegrass Festivals pretty hard. I'd had a little bit of exposure to some cats in my neighborhood that were doing bluegrass the old time way, just gathering around the campfire on a Saturday night around the full moon and past the moonshine and holler till the moon comes or till the sun comes up,
Yeah, that's always an amazing time too. Like going back to that campfire and just, how everything kind of started. Like it's a lot of fun.
For sure. And I'm huge. I actually saw John Hartford when I was 13 at the Calvin Theater in Washington, Missouri, which is like, hometown theater. It maybe held 400 people or so, and a friend of mine's dad got called to do the sound for that show, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come with me and do lights for this?" I'm like, "Oh man, that sounds great." And we get there, it was just like turn the house lights up. They were on while John did the performance, and just turn the house lights back down. That was all there was to doing the lights. But I tell a lot of people that moment changed my trajectory for a long time, just to be able to see what he could do as a one-man band, shuffling his feet, kind of doing the clog on the board. I'm not exactly sure what they call that for sure, but playing the fiddle and the banjo all at the same time, really was amazing experience. We got to go to the John Hartford Music Festival for several years up in Indiana at Bean Blossom there. Are you familiar with that property?
I've heard of Bean Blossom, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was like Bill Monroe's. He owned that for some time, and even back in the 1800s, people used to bring their horses and buggies to this spot to see live acoustic music. So it was just cool to be on that piece of land and sharing that experience. And uh, traveling around all those festivals, you kind of got to see what worked and what didn't, what was going good and what wasn't going so great at all these different events. And that's kind of what led us into where we're at with Pickin, and just seeing things from multiple different sides and taking
That's
the best
cool.
of all the what was the best of experiences and trying to bring that to our event.
I like that happens because it does, the progression of that. There's a lot of people I've talked to who I have that similar story of, I saw a bunch of festivals and I went, I could do that differently or better. And I feel like that has just increased the value and the integrity of festivals in general, right? Like as people
For
build
sure.
on, one another. You guys are in your 10th year with Pickin' on Picknick, and this is happening July 10th through the 13th, 2025. Tell me a little bit about the team. You guys came together as friends and said, hey, we want to do something like this. So who makes up the team, the volunteers? How do you guys pull this off?
Yeah, so in 2015, I think everyone's probably comfortable with me saying this, but me and my ex-wife started this. It was my vision to just kind of get all these bands that I've been playing with all over the country, try to bring them to the pretty spots in Missouri that I knew of that we could go pick along the river and host these type of events. So we started in 2015 with the Nonsense Brothers had thrown another event called Mo Roots Music Festival, which is still happening to this day, at Bass River Resort, which is a beautiful location down in Steelville, Missouri, right along the Codaway River. So our first event was Pickin' on the Codaway. We didn't have walkie-talkies. We didn't have any golf carts. We were hoofing it from one stage to the other. By the end of the weekend, my legs were so tired, man. But as soon as it ended, it was like, man, like this was really something special that we did here. Like we've got to do it again. So we started making plans for the next year. At that first event, a guy who's now a good friend of mine, Derek Weisbrod, showed up and was like, hey, can I help you with something? And I'm not just wanting to trust anybody with what we got going on, but he's like, let me just take care of the fire. Can I keep the fire going all night long? Like that'll be my job.
It's a very important job.
Yeah, it absolutely is. In the first year, we didn't have anybody on that,
Yeah.
So he took that on the second year, and then the third year he brought some trash barrels along with him, and just helped out in that department. Had a trash crew that was going around picking up trash. The following year, he brought a couple carpenters, and we started building backdrops for, the stages, and trying to be a little more creative in that space. And after we'd done that for a few years and got to know each other, we'd actually got a call from the event space that we're at now. I guess it was 2017 was an eclipse that passed right over St. Clair, Missouri, and they had the venue had only done weddings up till the eclipse event, and they had about 500 people show up on their property to view this eclipse. There was another music festival that happened less than 2 miles down the road from our space. I believe it was called Darkening of the Sun. I think they had like Nako and Medicine for the People was their headliner.
Okay.
I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it kind of opened up the eyes to the owners of Lost Hill Lake. Like, hey, I think we could potentially handle a larger crowd than a wedding crowd here. Excuse me. And my wife at the time and I had got married there in 2015. They knew that we were working on music festivals, so they reached out to us to see if we'd be interested in hosting an event there. And we really thought it was a dream come true because this property is just so beautiful. It's a 65-year-old walnut grove that Sam's dad, Bob, planted these trees back in the day. His idea was that he was going to harvest the walnut trees for the wood. Of course, it's very valuable lumber.
Yeah.
But he planted them too close together, so they never really got to full, big enough that you'd want to cut them down. But it created this nice grove where the trees are about 20 feet apart from each other in all directions.
Oh, cool.
So middle of July, we're like in the shade all day long. It seems like it's about 20 degrees cooler in there in the heat of the day. So, and we're right along the banks of the Merrimack River. So we got a breeze blowing up from the river through the walnut grove, and up on top of the hills, an 11-acre lake where people hang out in the lake all day. Just prime location for festival in July, especially in Missouri when it can be a little swampy,
Yeah.
We've definitely been blessed every single year that we've done it there with perfect weather. It seems like we just get, the music gods want us to
Yeah.
to have a good time and not get too hot,
I can imagine too with the space of the trees, that's like perfect hammock hanging space, right?
Yeah,
Like,
tons of hammock action going on. So much so that I think we've had like double or triple decker hammocks up in the trees. We might have to talk about that this year as the music gets going, because it is blocking some sight lines. So that's one of
yeah,
the things
yeah.
we need to talk about.
That's awesome. Well, you guys have a heck of a lineup coming up this year. So I'm seeing Armchair Boogie, Gin Strings, and then Del McCoury, right? Like the legend himself. Talk a little bit about the lineup. Who else do you guys have playing?
Yeah, so this year, being our 10th year, I definitely wanted to like kind of throw it back to bands that were with us along the way as we were building this thing. And I feel like, we've had a little bit of a hand in helping pop some bands off here in the Midwest and create some fans that might not have necessarily been there, or it might have taken a little bit longer to get the word out, if you will. But Gin Strings, I met those actually. Lauren Snively, I met her at a Widespread Panic after party in Nashville, and as we were packing up in the morning, she's like, "Oh, you play music, bluegrass? Like, you should really check out these guys from Minnesota. The Gin Strings, they're great." She was telling me about Armchair Boogie at that time too, but I think they were just getting started. So
Yeah.
reached out to the Gin Strings. Me and John like became instant friends. John also plays in Feed the Dog. He's the guitar player.
Okay.
I saw he's taken on a bunch more different projects this summer as well, beyond Feed the Dog and the Gin Strings reunion that I think they might also be playing at Blue Ox, if I'm not mistaken. But
Okay.
we're really excited to be able to get just a couple of the shows that the Gin Strings are popping off. Are you familiar with Larry Keel?
Yes, Larry Keel, the Larry Keel Experience, and
Yeah,
all of the different projects he does with Keller and everybody else. Yeah.
for sure. I feel like I kind of slept on that when he was doing stuff with Keller. I had opportunities to go see it, but just had other things going on at the time. And I started listening to him last year, and I was just like, "Oh man, like this is my jam!" Like
Yeah.
the gravel in his gut and his voice, is just and his picking is so fire. I feel like Keel is touching on stuff. I mean, I guess Jeff Austin was kind of like getting into that realm of some of what Larry has to offer, as well as Billy Strings. I feel like is kind of in that vibe too. Like maybe he was listening to Larry Keel
Yeah.
when he needed some inspiration.
Yeah, you could definitely hear the influence in there. And I've always thought Larry is just like his accuracy is unbelievable.
Yeah,
As a picker.
highly underrated in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned Jeff. So, and this is a little bit out of the order, but you guys actually are the whole festival has this take to support mental health awareness through the Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. And in our previous conversations, you had mentioned that was in large part because of the passing of Jeff Austin. Talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that decision.
just felt a wave of tingles come over me as you
Yeah.
said it, and yeah, in 2018, so that's when we first popped things off at no pun intended, picking on Picnic.
Yeah. Nice.
We popped things off at Lost Hill Lake, but Jeff Austin was there, and at the time I was working with Julian Davis. Are you familiar with him at all?
Mm-mm.
No. He was a young cat I met when he was 15, and that's a big part of what we do too, is kind of like bring up these younger fellas who are really talented and try to like give them a platform to express themselves, if you will. But at that particular event, we were able to get Julian on stage with Jeff, and I just remember Jeff's jaw being like on the floor the
That's
entire
awesome.
performance. This young kid, he was only like 18 at the time, and about 6 months later, he called my buddy Derek, who was helping build the fire, because he was managing Julian, and was like, "Hey, I need to get this kid on tour with me." So he ends up taking Julian on tour for basically the last run there. And Julian is a great friend, and just wanted to like, be there for him and make sure that it wasn't getting too big for his britches too fast, But
Yeah.
he got out there on the road, and it was exciting times to be playing to those huge crowds and whatnot. I think he got to do Winter Wondergrass and Mishawaka, and just some really great venues.
The
And
shirt.
nice.
Yeah.
But of course, a couple weeks before 2019, where we had invited Jeff back, Julian's on board, we heard the news, and I don't want to say we heard it first by any means, but definitely kind of like caught wind of it before it became public knowledge. And yeah, that definitely kind of changed the trajectory of what we were going to do that year. And, of course, all those things, but just thinking about his family and his kids and what are they going to do, and Sweet
Yeah.
Relief Fund, I believe, was really, able to help them out in their time of need. And we really took notice of what they were doing to help, and what could we do to help. And then as years went on, Max Graham, another performer, I'm not sure if you ever heard of Kind Country,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Minnesota, such a great band. And they've got lots of music out there on Spotify and YouTube. You can find it.
I'll look them up.
Yeah. Pedal Steel and the Mando, like, oh, gets me going,
Yeah. Yeah.
So Max joined Julian and Julian's band, and like very similar situation happened with Max like a year later. And we just kept, coming back each year, missing people that were not there the year before, either the drug overdose or suicide. And it's such a happy place, and we're riding on such a high while we're at the event. There's so much going on, there's so much good, there's so much love. But like when you come off of that, even myself have experienced it, a month later you kind of come off of that high and like, oh man, I got to go back to the real world, and it's depressing out here.
Yeah.
And yeah, just trying to give people some resources and some tools to carry on beyond just our festival and our event.
I like that you guys support this, because I see a lot of bands that are coming up right as I go to these festivals. I was just out with Mountain Grass Unit, and there'll be an interview with them coming out, in a few weeks. But they're one of them, right? These guys are just graduating college, and they're right now they're living in between, kind of finishing their degrees and then getting ready to go on this first major tour, and the amount of pressure that these musicians are under, and the lifestyle that they lead of just constantly hopping around and never really being rooted in one space. I think that takes a toll on people, and like you said, it's left a wake. Just that lifestyle and the pressure has left a wake of people that are no longer with us. So I really enjoy that you guys are focusing on that and trying to not only raise awareness but raise funds and make a difference in that area. So that's incredible. You guys, in terms of the festival, we had talked a little bit, and I don't know if these plans are solid or not, but is there also going to be a streaming component to this?
We are still trying to figure out the details on that. Not 100% that it's going to happen. In fact, the guy that was supposed to come check out the service, we're kind of in a secluded area. We've got Starlink going on, but they need to have 50 gigs of upload, continuous speed to be able to make that happen. So we're going to capture it in some form. I'm not sure that it's going to be streamed 100%, but we'll be updating live throughout the event.
Yeah. So with that said too, the best way to experience Pickin on Picnic is to actually go to it, right? Where you guys at in your tiers in terms of ticket sales, and how can people, what are the options available for families that want to check this out?
Yeah, so we're in tier 2 now. We've I think said the end of the month is tier 3. We've got, I don't know, a handful of tickets left before we could bump that up to the tier 3 level. We've got happy camper upgrades that come with AC bathrooms, shaded camping spots. We've also got RV spots available. We've got youth tickets. I believe under 18 is significantly discounted, and under 12 are free.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. So there's options available for everybody, and I really do like the AC availability as well for folks that don't necessarily want to tent camp or anything. And you've got available RV space as well, correct?
Yeah, there's plenty of RV spots available, and I would just mention that our site is pretty well flat. There's not any hills to climb unless you're going up to the lake, of course, or want to go on a hike on part of the 240 acres. There's a nice overlook that overlooks the river and overlooks the festival grounds. They call Thinking Rock, but for the most part, the festival site is completely flat, so easy to navigate.
I mean, I dig that too, because, part of the magic of the venue is that, sometimes you can't watch music all day, right? And there's got to be other activities that you can do, especially if you're bringing the kids. They're not going to want to, just watch bands all day. So it sounds like you've got hiking, there's a lake, swimming in the lake as well, paddleboarding, kayak, all that.
We've got rope swings on like a 3-tier, like little fort thing to jump off of. There's canoes, kayaks, all kinds of stuff to do that doesn't cost anything. Those are all just available for use, first come, first serve.
That's amazing. What's the crowd generally look like in terms of vibe, makeup? What can people expect to see when they get to Pickin on Picnic?
Yeah, we have about 1,500 people on site. We have vendors that line both sides of our walnut grove that I spoke about earlier, and the stages on each end. So while you're there and you're in the concert zone, you can basically, set your chair up and hear music from both sides all day. Just turn around and look the other way, or get a little closer if you want to. The kids zone is right in the middle of all of this, so it's a lot of the kids they've got kids activities, different workshops going on for them as well. But you can keep an eye on your kids. You can see the music going on the stage. You can be hanging with your friends, eating great food right there from the vendors. It's all in one spot. Kind of keeps everybody contained in the bowl. Um, we have about 1,500 people there. Early birds start showing up on Wednesday. We're packing up and headed out in the afternoon, out by 6 on Sunday. But everyone is super chill. It feels like a family reunion.
Yeah.
You can come there and not know anyone, and you will make a ton of friends. You can come there with a ton of friends and make a bunch more. So
It's interesting. A lot of the conversations I've had recently on this podcast have been around, the size of the festival, right? And what's too big and what's too small. And it just seems that 1,500 number of between 1,000 and 2,000 people is right in that sweet spot, right? Like right where it's big enough that it feels like a bigger festival, but it's small enough that you actually can make connections and meet people, and everybody's friendly. So it sounds like it's going to be super exciting. I have never been to Missouri, right? So I'm excited to
really?
come and check this out. Yeah, I've not been to, I've been all over the place, but not Missouri yet. And I'm definitely excited to come and check this out. Again, Pickin on Picknick is July 10th through the 13th, 2025, and that is going to be at Lost Hill Lake in St. Clair, Missouri. I sure am excited about this, Ryan, and I appreciate you jumping on and spreading the word and telling us about this great experience.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on.
All right, cheers, man.
Yeah.
And that is it for this week, neighbors. I am super excited to make the trip to St. Clair, Missouri to go to the Pickin on Picknick this summer. The lineup is amazing. It includes the McCoury Band, Sliplit Rayfield, the Larry Keel Experience we talked about, Armchair Boogie, and there's many, many more. And this includes hosted campfire jams, which is something that I think that festivals should do more of. I think it's really cool when they do that. The event's happening from July 10th through the 13th, 2025 at Lost Hill Lake, St. Clair, Missouri. And that is the last year at the venue. So if you want to take your chance to experience the multi-level hammocks in the shade of the 65-year-old Walnut Grove, now is your chance. Ticket packages are actually available on the website, but Ryan and his team have hooked us up with 2 complimentary 3-day general admission passes, and that includes primitive car camping, and the total package is valued at about $475. So we're super excited for that. To get your chance to win those tickets, head on over to the website at musicfestivalspodcast.com and look for the tab at the top that says Win Festival Tickets. When you get to that page, you can actually enter multiple different contests that we have going on, including Hookahville 60, which is happening June 5th through the 7th at Roost on the River in Newark, Ohio, as well as the Incarceration Music and Tattoo Festival, and that's July 18th through the 20th at the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. And we do want to announce a winner. We have a winner of the Trifesta package that was given to us by All Good Presents, and that package included tickets to Dark Star Jubilee coming up next month, the All Good Now Festival at the Meriwether Post Pavilion in Columbia, Maryland, and 4848, which is happening at Snowshoe Mountain Resort in West Virginia. And the winner of that package is Holly McNames. So congratulations, Holly. I hope to see you at all of those festivals. And again, thanks for entering the drawings. Again, subscribe to the Neighborhood Weekly newsletter, and that's going to get you all kinds of information from festival announcements to upcoming dates to exclusive interviews and some discount codes from our partners, including Outdoorsy.com, Inikim Scooters, Melted Mind Designs, Cast Magic, CapCut, Opus Clip, and Hoem, and that's the new Hoem iSteady M7 phone gimbal that you can use to shoot video at all the festivals you're going to go to this summer. But next week, we are going to have a recap of another festival that happened at the Poe Road Music Sanctuary, and this was their season opener. So a one-night festival, and literally this venue is amazing because it is an island of trees in the middle of these massive cornfields. So you're going to want to come back next week and check that out. There's going to be a lot happening at that venue, and I'm excited to talk to those guys as well. If you are listening to the audio podcast, make sure that you check out the YouTube channel for more videos that aren't featured on this podcast, and that includes festival performances from full sets to single songs to private performances. We've got one up there from Mountain Grass Unit right now. And if you are there, go ahead and rate the show, whether you're listening to the audio or just leave a comment on YouTube. But any ratings that we can get to help improve the content of the show is going to be great. And you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I am at Neighbor Nate Fests on Instagram. So look me up there. I always like getting DMs from you guys. But that is all I have for you this week, neighbors. My name is Neighbor Nate. I am your host, and I hope to be your neighbor at a festival very soon.